Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's expert webinar titled Cloud Strategy, Need and Implementation. I am Satyakshi from SpringPeople. We are India's largest enterprise training provider. I will be your moderator for today's session. In today's webinar, we have a certified Google Cloud expert, Rohit Mittal, who has over 14 plus years of IT experience with deep knowledge in developing, designing, and architecting enterprise products. He is highly proficient in using multiple stacks such as cloud, big data, Java, Spring Boot, NoSQL, and related technologies. His area of expertise also extend to architecture styles, patterns, programming languages, framework, libraries, and middleware. So, in today's webinar, Rohit Mittal will talk about what is cloud strategy and why it's important to deploy a high benefit and low risk cloud platform. He will guide us on what elements constitute a good cloud strategy and how you can effectively migrate onto cloud from your current state to the desired state through a variety of cloud types and services. At the end, he will explore the management aspects of cloud, such as risk assessment, governance, and service management. Without further ado, let's start today's session. Now, I would like to call upon Rohit to start the session. Over to you, Rohit.
Thank you, Satyakshi. Thank you for the kind words. So, today's session, I will start with the basic tenets of the cloud. Then we will move to the cloud strategy and what are the different types of cloud and the whole cloud spectrum. Then we will touch upon also the cloud migration patterns and also the governance part of it. Okay. So let's start then. So first of all, we need to understand about the cloud. What actually cloud offers. So don't think it from the perspective of advantage and the disadvantage. Here we are talking about the nature of the cloud. It's when you go to the cloud, what you have to deal with, what it offers. Don't think it from the perspective that these are the advantages of cloud, because every tenet of them can prove advantage as well as disadvantage. So if you see, means you can list out a lot of features of the cloud, but if you go to the basics, you come to these five tenets. The first one called service based means, what does it mean being a service based? Here, everything is considered as a service. Generally, if you see in the traditional computing, you see the computing as a resource. Means you have processors, you have storage, you have memory, you have cache, you have servers, middleware, message brokers, everything you see as a resource. But here we see it as a service. Means you are getting the compute power as a service. You are getting storage as a service. And two different kind of service to cater different kind of needs. Now I move to the second, the scalable and the elastic. So generally people use these terms interchangeably. Means people think that there's no difference between scalable and elastic, but these are two different features if we talk about the cloud. Scalable means your application can cope up with the increased load. It can consume the additional resources what are available, and its performance won't degrade. But elastic means something else. Elastic means the pushing the boundary itself. Means you can scale your application or your system to a boundary. But elastic means to to expand or reduce that boundary itself. So how it helps? It helps in the billing. Means when we say everything is on demand in cloud. So if I need the extra computation power, I will demand for it and I will be charged only for that. I need extra memory, I need extra storage, I will demand for that and I will be charged only for that. But now the load decreases. Shall I be charged for the same load, for the peak load? No. Now your consumption is less, so your boundaries would be shrinked. Now you won't be charged for the peak load. And that's where the efficiency come from the cloud. If you are going to the cloud and you are not using this feature, then you are just not you are just defeating the purpose of moving the cloud. This is the single most important feature of cloud, or I would say the nature. Number three is shared. So shared, what do we mean by shared? When we talk about this TNET, we are essentially talking about the public cloud, means like the Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, or anything. Shared means it is a multi-tenant system. So multiple resources are shared among the multiple organizations. So suppose you have a data center of uh, Amazon. It would be hosting the applications of hundreds of organizations. That we mean uh, shared means that. Number four, metered uses. Now, this is closely related to your Elastic. Metered uses means you pay as you go, means there is no upfront cost. You don't say, I will be using this much memory, this much computing power, this much CPU. But whatever you use, you will be paid for. So it is very helpful for the startups, means who don't have the much capital to invest to begin with. But so they can easily go live with the cloud and they will be charged as they go and based on their uses. Again, the next one, the internet technologies. So you can access your resources from anywhere through the internet. Again, this is only true about the public cloud. So now the topic of this webinar is the cloud strategy. So what exactly that cloud strategy is and why do I need a cloud strategy? So let's try to find out the answer of these questions. First of all, we will focus on what is a cloud strategy. So the most important question is, why do I want to move the cloud? So the cloud strategy, first of all, tries to answer this question. Again, see, cloud means different things to different people. Suppose you are a developer, you are an IT guy. For you, it means that you will get the storage, so much storage, you will get the CPU, you can host your applications like this or that. Somebody is looking at from the financial perspective that I can save the cost or my cost will increase. So who defines this strategy? So this cloud strategy is not derived from the technical perspective. It is always from the business side. So it depends. It is aligned with the company's business goal. So also the philosophy of the company. Suppose a company which believes slow and steady wins the race. The philosophy of the company is means like the most of the banks, means they play very safe. They don't want to disrupt their existing running applications or existing business. But when you go to the e-commerce, they believe in move fast and break the things. So they are ready to take more risk, but the banks, they are not ready to take any risk. So your cloud strategy should define that. Means what do you want to do? When you answer this question, then next thing comes, means what kind of cloud would be using, what is suitable for you, private, public, hybrid, what kind of service you want, means you want infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or you want to go with the SaaS. Oh, don't worry, this SaaS doesn't mean mother-in-law. So now, generally people confuse the cloud strategy with the cloud migration plan. It is not. Cloud strategy defines what do you want out of cloud, what your target state means when you move to cloud, what how you want your applications to look like. It is it is not like that. I want to move to the cloud in 6 months. This is my plan. These many resources I need. All those things. It's not like that. It's not process oriented. It's principles oriented. So first of all, we try to answer this question: why do I need cloud? So the answers can be: I want to save the cost. But if you see essentially, what is cloud doing for you? If you are moving to cloud, you are freeing up your IT team. Here you can focus on your core competencies. Means if suppose I'm a I'm a company which develops the software for the financial institutions, then what is my strength? To develop the applications for the financials, to develop the financial products, not managing the infrastructure. That's not my strength. That's the strength of the Google or the Amazon. So what I am trying to do here, I am trying to give that work who does that best. So what it does for me, so it will remove the headache of managing all the infrastructure, updates, to some extent security. So that gives me more headroom to focus on my core business. When you see the cloud strategy, it doesn't mean that you are always moving to cloud. Suppose even if you don't want to move to cloud, still you need a cloud strategy. In the cloud strategy, logically you will come to the conclusion that you don't need cloud for these reasons. And it also doesn't mean that all of the things, means even if you are moving to cloud, that all of your workload will move to cloud. No. There can be the cloud first approach, means whenever you develop a new software or you create a new application, you will evaluate the cloud first, whether I can use cloud, I can leverage the cloud or not, but it doesn't mean that I will always use the cloud. So there is difference between the cloud first and the cloud only approach. So, so cloud first approach is pragmatic, but cloud only approach doesn't suit everybody. Now, see, your answers to these questions, why do I need cloud, can be in form of like increased productivity, because now I don't have to focus on the infrastructure part, cost effectiveness, because everybody says that cloud is cheap, agility and scalability. What do we mean by agility here? Means the most important aspect is when you have the time to move to the market, means you are developing a new awesome piece of software and you want to move it to market as fast as you can to be ahead of competitors. So then cloud helps a lot because you don't have to set up the infrastructure, you don't have to procure this hardware. You every resource is just available on the click of mouse. And of course, the scalability. You don't have to worry about the means on the Black Friday sale there would be lakhs of users logging in simultaneously and my system can crash. So again, I would reiterate. So the philosophy of the company would decide why do I need cloud? Okay. So again, this question comes to when should I create cloud strategy? And I found this very interesting quote from the Gartner that the best time was 5 years ago and the second best time is now. So whether you want to move to cloud or not, whether you think the cloud is suitable for you or not, you must have a cloud strategy. Although your cloud strategy is, I do not want to move the cloud, but you must have the cloud strategy. So I talked about the 5 basic tenets of the cloud. So it doesn't mean you would be leveraging all of them. So this is a kind of cloud spectrum, means how much cloudy you are, means to where you are and where what approach suits you. See, so, if I talk about this type 0, it is only the cloud enabling. It's not a cloud computing at all. You have the bits and pieces of the cloud, like you have the shared infrastructure, not shared, the shared space, or you say you have some virtualization in place, means you have some hypervisor layer and thing. You have wide area network. So you have the bits and pieces which can be used to create a private cloud, but you are not cloud. Now, another one is cloud inspired. Here, you are like you are not using the features like pay as you go, the elasticity, the APIs, but other things you are using, means you are scalable, you are using the uh, resources as service. It is the case for most of the private clouds. I will explain in detail what a private cloud means. But on surface level, when you set up the infrastructure in your data center, means you are not sharing it with other organizations. So the most of the private cloud would fall in this band. Now we talk about the pure cloud. Pure cloud can be achieved generally on the public clouds like Google, GCP, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, or the Azure. So here you are leveraging all the 5 basic tenets of the cloud computing. So you are having the elasticity, you have your usage is metered, everything. Then comes the next level. You are going beyond that. Means you are doing some innovations using those tenets, like you are creating an artificial intelligence system. So you are hoarding a lot of data and trying to make sense of that. Means suppose you are on a Google Cloud, you are using BigQuery, to predict the trend. You are crunching the petabytes of data, and you are arriving on some market trends or all those things. So that is cloud enhanced. Now, you have heard a lot about these three terms: IaaS, PaaS, and which essentially is I develop a software, I want to run it. Satyakshi, can you hear me? Yes, I get the message.
Yes, yes, I
There
can
is
hear
not
you.
okay.
In mid, we lost you for 1 2 seconds, and then you got, I think, some network issue from your end.
Okay. So I start again on this thing.
Yeah, now you can
iOS,
continue.
PaaS,
Your
and
voice is
suppose I was
clear.
on. Am I audible now?
You are audible. Clear voice is coming. Yes.
Okay. Suppose I have a software, I want to run it in my data center. So what do I need? Suppose what would I need? First of all, I need a physical facility, the land, the building. Then other infrastructures like the electricity connection, internet, all those things, air conditioning. Above that, I need the hardware, the processors, the storage devices, my routers, and to bind all those things, I need networking. To connect to the internet, I need networking. Above that, I need an operating system. Actually, there are other layers as well, like the virtualization. Generally, people have the virtualization layer in between, but for the sake of simplicity, then I need a software, sorry, operating system. So on the operating system, I will deploy the middleware like my database, my message brokers, application servers, and above that, I will deploy my application. And above that, there will be data. So if you are moving till the operating system level, means your physical facility, all your hardware, and also the operating system is taken care by your cloud provider, then essentially you are using the infrastructure as a service. Now, if even the middlewares, means like the application servers and your message brokers, databases, even those are provided you as a service, means you do not have to install them, you do not have to worry about their versions to update them, then you are essentially on a PaaS, platform as a service. Now, even if you are not bringing up your application, means you do not even developing the software, you are just using it and providing your data, then you are using software as a service. So if you think from the security perspective, whatever you own, you have to secure that as well. Means if I am using infrastructure as a service, then the responsibility of securing my middleware, my software, and the data will always with me. It, cloud can provide some policy, identity and access management, but still the basic responsibilities lies with me. Same way, now if you move to the past, your responsibilities will reduce. Now you don't have to worry about the security of your database server or the application server. And now if you are using the software as a service, then you have to worry only about the data. Means you are only the username, passwords, your or the certificates and all those things. So this was here I tried to explain the different level of clouds. So there's another term which when I use that private or public cloud, what does it mean? Private, I already explained, means you are setting up the cloud on your on in your data center. So what does that mean? Means here what you do, you buy lots of hardware, means your computing power, your storage systems, and then you provide a virtualization over that. Means now there is a layer between your software and the hardware, a virtualization layer, where you disconnect your applications or you make your applications agnostic to the underlying hardware. So if there is failure in one part, your application is still running. So you are decoupled from your hardware. This is the basic of the private cloud. So again, you can have multiple things. Means you can set up your container uh, container orchestrator and all those things in the private cloud. In the public cloud, public the everybody knows means like the AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. These are the common public clouds, and it provides you the every every tenet of the cloud computing. So if I compare the both, what is the difference in the private and public? One, you have invested in the infrastructure upfront in the private cloud. You are not paying as you go. So it is only suitable for the large organizations like the big banks, all those organizations. So, but why people consider the private? Why don't everybody go to the public cloud? So there are reasons. Means like this. One reason is the regulations. Means there are the regulatory rules. Means your data cannot move out of a country. Then there is no option. Means if your cloud doesn't provide at least two reasons in your country, two reasons you would need because of your high availability setup. So then there's no option. Means you cannot go to a public cloud. Again, you don't, as a policy, you do not want your data to on the internet. You can't go with the private public cloud. Now, and there are some mission critical softwares, mission critical applications which you want on your infrastructure. You have customized your hardwares and softwares that it can only run on your private on your infrastructure. It is not compatible with the public cloud infrastructure, because in the like even in the IaaS, you are provided some options to select the operating system. Suppose you are bound with a particular version of an operating system, or you have customized the operating system, then definitely you cannot move to public cloud. So then, so suppose I have some load which want to move to the public cloud, and I have some workload which I want to do in the private in my own data center. Then these hybrid options come. And this hybrid doesn't mean that only one private and one public cloud. There can be multiple public clouds. Suppose when do you not want to be coupled with a particular vendor? You don't want vendor locking. Means today I am on AWS, but tomorrow if Google provides me better deal, I will move to Google. But I have already tied up with the services of AWS. Means now, even if I want, if I get a better deal, I cannot move. I don't want that kind of vendor lock-in. Then even I can use the multi-cloud. Means suppose I am very scared. Means I have heard the news that Google Cloud was down for 6 hours. So I want my system to be highly available. So I want one backup in the another cloud. So that we call the multi-cloud approach as well. Now, what is best for me? Do I want public, private, or I do not want any cloud? So on the high level, this can be the basic approach. I have the benefits if I move to cloud. So there would be some workload, some applications which would give me high return if I move to cloud. Suppose I have an e-commerce application which has very high load on few days, like on the Diwali, on the Black Friday, on New Year. But on the rest of the days, it's not that busy. So I do not want to invest so much in the infrastructure to cater that peak load. So that will, if I go to the cloud, if I leverage the elasticity of the cloud, my benefits would be high. I would save so much in the infrastructure cost. But if I have a mission critical application which is running fine in my own infrastructure and it has a steady load, means it doesn't vary much, and I don't want any disruption in this application. So it will yield low returns. Or if I am using some kind of customization which may not be compatible with the public cloud, then there is some kind of uncertainty. So I have to classify my applications in these. Now, one side is the benefit, the another side is the challenges. How difficult is to move to the cloud? So if the moving to the cloud is easy, means I do not have to worry much about, means like I have simple web application which can be done anywhere. Definitely means it's very easy to move it to cloud, and the returns are also high. So definitely I will go for the public cloud. But if it is very challenging to move to the cloud, but I expect high returns, then it depends on your company philosophy. If you are a risk taker, then you can go to public cloud. Otherwise, private cloud is better. You want to get the elasticity, but you will get the scalability and all other things from the cloud. Again, if the moving to the cloud is very easy, but you don't expect much return, means there is a web application or which has very few users, means any day you can move it to cloud, but doesn't return anything. You can try, means then if you are a risk taker, then move it. If you do not want unnecessary burden, then leave it. But if there is no returns or very low return and it is very difficult to move to the cloud, then it is better to avoid. So what are the risks associated when I talk about the cloud? One, data security. Means essentially your data is moving out of your data center. Now it's on the internet. There's a Although it's a myth that clouds are not secure, public clouds are not secure. The companies like Google and AWS are more equipped or more sophisticated to provide you security. But generally, the security breach is from the user side. You must have heard this many times that people are the weakest link in the security chain. Here, the clouds, if you public clouds, if you are on a public cloud, then there are chances you will be targeted more by the hackers. And if you make a mistake, that punishment is high. That's the problem. Otherwise, clouds are very secure. Public clouds, they have the most sophisticated technologies. Now, coming to the cost, means people may find it surprising that high cost because public clouds are known for the cost saving. But how is it? Cost saving comes from the public cloud when you are using the elasticity. If you are not leveraging that feature, believe me, if you are whatever the computational power and the memory, the storage you are using in your data center, if you use the same in the cloud, believe me, it would be expensive then. It would be costlier than your in-house. Savings comes from this elasticity. If you are not leveraging this, then there's no no advantage to move to the public cloud. Again, one more thing. See, this provides, this is very elastic, means on the click of a button, you can create your infrastructure. It's very easy. So if you do not have the proper checks in place, anybody can create the infrastructure, anybody can create the VM and forget about that. And it would keep on running and the bills, it would be built. And you will get you will get a shock when you see the pure bill, monthly bill. Another one is the regulatory compliance, which I talked earlier. Means one of them is like, for example, means there is a law you cannot move the data from your country. It cannot cross the borders of your country. Another is in the sector, like in the health sector, you have those HIPAA compliance. Means you have to be, there are some guidelines or some which must be followed for particular type of applications. So if your cloud provider doesn't adhere to those standards, then you cannot move to the cloud. Again, the vendor lock-in. I already talked about this risk. So you do not want to be logged in with a vendor. Suppose now you you go with the Amazon, and you are a particular business and you go on the Amazon cloud. Now Amazon enters in your business. Means Amazon is entering in every business. It can enter in your business as well. Now it's your competitor. You don't want to be on your competitor's infrastructure. You want to move out, but you cannot. You are so dependent on it. So this is another risk. That's why this cloud strategy is important, because we have to find out those risks. What is my company policies are, and how can I mitigate these risks? So I have to consider all these things in my cloud strategy. Cloud governance. So I talked about the risk. What can be the pitfalls? So to avoid those things, we must have a governance in place. If you read this code, every ensure the right things are being done in right way. It means it has three things inside. First word is the right things. So you have to define what are the right things. Means your security policies, type of infrastructure, your deployment process, all those things. Right way. How do I want to do these things? If I want to deploy, how would I want to deploy? Third one is the ensuring it. Means the right things are done in right way and we are ensuring it. How can we ensure? By proper monitoring or the checks and the IAM policies, identity and access management. Here that you must have heard the principle of least privilege. Means everybody has the bare minimum privilege which are required to do his or her job. Now I will briefly touch upon the cloud migration approach. It is again quite related to the IES, PASS, and all those things. Suppose you have your applications running in your data center and tomorrow you want to move to the cloud. So what are the approach? So what does this mean? First one is the lift and shift. It really means you just provision the same kind of infrastructure which are you using in your data center, same kind of infrastructure you provision in the cloud, and you just move your workload from here to there. And this kind of approach, I tell you, won't bring you the saving because it won't be using the elasticity of the cloud. But suppose you are in a contract and this contract is getting over, or it has reached to the infrastructure has reached to the end of its life, and you want to move quickly, you want to get out of that, then this approach can be pragmatic. You just create the same kind of infrastructure on the cloud and move everything there. That's it. Another thing is the re-platform. It is slightly different from the lift and shift. Here, the middlewares you take from the cloud. You you don't change much. You don't change your application code, but the where it is hosted, you can change that. Means right now you are uh, suppose you are hosted, you are using MySQL, then you use the cloud SQL service from the cloud. You can do that. You can just change the middleware. You are using some kind of message broker in your on-premise. Now you use something else, but on the same protocol. But you don't change your code. The third one is the refactor. Here you are refactoring your code. You are making your applications cloud native. Definitely that there is a cost to refactor the code, but it gives you the great elasticity. Means you can use all the cloud features. You can containerize your applications, and then you can use the managed Kubernetes, auto scaling, everything. Now, this is the brief journey to a cloud. Means what are the different steps when you are moving to cloud? I mostly focused on the strategy part. In the strategy, you are defining the objective, vision. The second step is the discovery, where you are doing the gap analysis. What is the difference between the target state and the today's? What could be my cost? What would be my technology? Third one is the approach, where you define your architecture, approach, all those things. Fourth one is the plan. You create the plan. In 1 year, I will do this. This is my low level design. These are my services which I will move first to the cloud. After those, I would move this application. This is the plan. and next is obviously the implementation. So I'm done here. So Satyakshi, over to you.
Rohit, can you hear me?
Yes, Satyakshi.
Thank you, Rohit, for your invaluable insights on the technology. I'm sure it was certainly a very informative session for all of you. If you guys are interested in learning more about various clouds, do check out our super discounted batches of virtual instructor led training on our website, springpeople.com. These VILT trainings are leveraged online from the comfort of your home and flexible as per your schedule and location. If you do not find any suitable batches, we would be happy to discuss and schedule private batches for you. If you don't have time to join live online, then do try out our affordable self-paced courses. For more information, do write to us at training@springpeople.com or call on our number displayed on the current slide. Now we will open the forum for Rohit to answer the questions that we have received during the session. So let's get our questions answered. Over to you, Rohit.
Thank you. Thank you, Satyakshi.
Are you able to see the questions, Rohit?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So
You
I
can go
got that.
ahead.
Yeah. So one of the questions is what is the difference between the elasticity and the scalability? Okay. So scalability is the feature of your application. Means suppose you create your application like that. Uh, it's stateless. You can run the multiple instances of your application like we do in all cloud native applications, like in the all the generally all the microservices like that. Means it's scalable. You can scale it out. Means you can run the multiple instances of your application, but within the limits. Means so you can run. You have a autoscaler defined where you can run 2 to 5 instance of your application. That is scalability. Means with the increased load, your performance doesn't go down. That is scalability. Why the elasticity is, I would provision only that much which I require. If I need 4 gigs of memory and the 16 CPUs, I will be billed only for that. If I need only 2 gigs, then the boundary is reduced. I would be charged only for the things which I am using. That is the elasticity. So there is another question. Given the broad spectrum advantages of cloud, which also has manifestation as IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, what are the guiding principle of a customer to make a strong case for each? What would a customer settle for a lesser infra in versus some more infra in PaaS versus all infra in SaaS? So, okay. So generally the comparison is between the IaaS and the PaaS because in the SaaS, you you are using the software provided by the others. You are using the software as it is. But if you are a software developer itself, then you won't be thinking about the SaaS. Okay, so if you are an insurance company and you can use the insurance product, you don't want to host it. You just there is an insurance service software provider. You can use it as a SaaS product means. But the scope of customization is very less there. So that's the SaaS means you have to use that product as it is or with minimal customization. Now coming to the IaaS and PaaS, as earlier I talked about, when you are doing the lift and shift, then IaaS is the only option. But if you are ready to re-platform and refactor, then the PaaS can be used. And there is another, is it possible to host private infrastructure hardware in the data center of cloud provider? Actual literal lift and now the cloud providers are providing such facility that is called bare metal. So Google provides that. Not sure about the AWS, but yes, cloud providers are coming up with those solutions as well. What should be the best strategy to choose among the public cloud available? Example GCP, AWS, and Azure. So if you see on the high level, all the clouds are very similar. They provide all the services, but this is more about the business decision, which provides the more saving, which provides you the better deal. But few differentiators are there. Like if I talk about this Google Cloud, there are two differentiator products. One is Cloud Spanner, that is multi-regional, multi-write RDBMS, which is not a which you won't find in the market. In the RDBMS, you will have generally one write copy and multiple read copies, but it provides you the multiple write copies. Again, but it's very expensive. That could be a differentiator. Another product, BigQuery. You can crunch petabytes of data in the seconds for the analytics. If you can make use of that, if you have the use case for those products, yes, Google Cloud. But if you see, Google doesn't provide you any ready-made time series database. You can use Bigtable, but you have to do some tweaking there. You have to do some innovation there to use that as a time series database. On the other hand, AWS provides you the a separate database for the time series data. Although on the high level, every cloud provides almost the same thing, but in niche scenarios, there can be some specific niche products which is very specific to your use case. Then you can go with that. Okay, so there's another question where this Kubernetes fits in. Okay, so actually Kubernetes can fit everywhere except the SaaS, software as a service. Kubernetes you can deploy on premise on the physical machines. You can deploy on VMs. You can deploy on the IaaS, on the machines in the VMs on the public cloud. You can create the cluster. You can get it as a managed service, like in the Google Cloud. You get Google Container Engine as a pass. So it fits everywhere, and that's the reason it's why it's so popular, because the same workload you can run anywhere, be it the on-premise, your own data center, your IaaS, your PaaS, this cloud, that cloud, anywhere.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. We shall be sending out the webinar recording to all you participants soon. I request you to kindly provide feedback before signing off, which will help us improve the quality of our future events. Thanks again for joining us today. Signing off on behalf of Team Spring People. Hope to see you again for our next expert webinar. Bye bye.